I appreciate your company this afternoon. First, lawyer for the plaintiffs in the suit challenging the status of the Ghana Bar Association, GBA, Dr. JoyNews Today, has defended their case at the Supreme Court. She insists the association is failing to represent the interests of its members and argues that the current GBA leadership infringes on lawyers' rights to freely join other associations. The suit filed by South Dine MP Roxanne Dafiamekpo, private legal practitioner Israel Tete, and the Ghana Law Society challenges the exclusive constitutional powers granted to the GBA and calls for a fundamental rethink of the bar's role in national governance. The Attorney General and the GBA have been named as defendants, with the plaintiffs also seeking a broader reinterpretation of the association's constitutional status. Now, speaking on News Desk with Mamie Sinyamecha Thompson, Dr. Jennifer Morris AJ stressed that the GBA's current leadership is infringing on lawyers' rights to associate freely, ultimately undermining the interests of its members.
Obviously, they are not serving our interests. They are not serving our interests. The ideologies that they have are not consistent with the ideologies that some of us have. And it is part of the reasons why we want that monopoly to be broken. Because, there are a number of things going on in the Ghana Bar Association that, some of us are not happy. And it seems to be, because, for instance, you make payment of dues for the entire year and you get nothing from the association. That is a fact. Even a common sticker that the association has, you have to purchase the sticker from your own pocket. The association organizes conferences and you have to pay for those conferences aside the national dues that we pay. And so some of us have been asking ourselves, then what is the use of paying those national dues if we are not getting anything? Our welfare has not been taken care of, we have no medical insurance, we have nothing. So it looks as though we are just throwing money to people to just spend. And the legal landscape right now is expanding. And so if that is the case, then it means people's rights to join associations are being trampled upon, because the Constitution at a point cannot give people the freedom to join any association of their choice, and at one point in time also restrict and restrain the same people that do not join any other association. There is clearly an inconsistency in this part of the Constitution, if that is what is supposed to be. But we are saying that even if that is what it's supposed to be, then using purposive interpretation, that cannot be. And so, that monopoly has to be broken.
Well, we have Israel Tete. He's a lawyer and who's also a co-plaintiff to this matter. Thank you for joining us this afternoon on the news. So we've heard one of your lawyers, but what are the core reasons prompting this writ?
Hello.
Hi, if you can hear me.
Thanks for having me. Fundamentally, as he has enumerated, is that aside the challenges, is the enforcement of the Constitution. We believe that the Constitution must give equal rights to all persons free from discrimination of all kinds. And at this point, we think that there is some form of discrimination going on against lawyers. You cannot blame the framers 100%. Probably at the time, GBA was the only association existing, so their minds could easily cast to it, and then they've assigned specific rules in the Constitution for them to perform. Fast forward, times have changed. So with the changing trend, with the number of lawyers, with existing rival associations, we think that it is time that a broader interpretation is given to what the framers of the Constitution thought at the time of giving unto us the Constitution. Yes.
Okay, so why aren't you fixing the discrimination within the GBA, but you think that breaking a certain monopoly is the way forward?
The discrimination doesn't exist within the internal GBA.
Okay.
It exists outside of it. If you are not a member of the GBA, then you cannot benefit from the constitutional guarantees that we currently have.
For example, you must be a member of the GBA to be appointed onto certain institution boards. Is that an example? Do you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
You have to be a member of the GBA to qualify for certain appointments.
Okay. Okay. Well, some people, what you say to some people who are of the view that this is more of a political move to disband the current GBA?
That the Constitution has provided for the time, if it referred to them in particular, then it had thought in its mind that all lawyers probably at the time were members.
Oh, is it my network? Well, I'm sorry about the network this afternoon. We'll try and reconnect with him in the bulletin if we can, otherwise in our subsequent bulletin. But I'll try again. I am asking whether or not the people, the people who are saying that it is more of a political move, you want to disband it, you want to disband the current GBA, especially because of the time.
Not.
Unfortunately, I will try to reconnect with him in our subsequent bulletins. But let's stay with legal matters. As Director of Special Operations at National Security, Richard Jakpa has petitioned the Criminal Investigation Department of the Ghana Police Service, demanding an investigation into former Attorney General Godfred Dame over alleged misconduct and attempted evidence manipulation. Jakpa, who was the third accused in the high-profile ambulance procurement scandal involving the then minority leader, Dr. Kasiala Toforson, claims he came under pressure to act against his will, casting fresh light on the controversy. Now, let's bring you excerpts of that petition. My colleague Collins Frimpong joins me with details. Quickly, Collins, run us through the demands of Richard Jakpa. Collins, if you can hear me, this petition, would you want to run me through it quickly? We'll try again to see if we can bring you the demands in that petition that Richard Jakpa has been petitioning the Criminal Investigation Department of the Ghana Police. Collins, we'll try again. What is in this petition? Just unmute if you can hear me.
Petition dated July 23, 2025, Mr. Jakpa accuses the former Attorney General Godfred Dame of soliciting his cooperation to testify in a manner to incriminate the first accused, that is Dr. Toforson, who is currently the Finance Minister and also the Acting Minister for Defense. And also, it says that to help fast-track the conclusion of the ambulance case. The petition also details a phone conversation allegedly held on March 26, 2024 between Mr. Jakpa himself and Mr. Godfred Dame, which Jakpa claimed he has attached the petition as an evidence. So according to him, during the call, the then Attorney General advised him on how to answer questions during a cross-examination, and also especially regarding letters of credit in a way that would implicate Dr. Toforson, contrary to Jakpa's own understanding of the matter. The petition further alleges that Mr. Dame instructed him, that's Mr. Jakpa, to procure a false medical excuse duty to delay his court appearance until the Attorney General returns from a trip abroad, a suggestion Jakpa saying that he declined as it was criminal and also dishonest and unethical.
Right. Collins, thank you for bringing us some of the demands in that petition by Richard Jakpa. We'll be following this story keenly and bringing you updates. Well, away from that, Executive Secretary of the National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons, Dr. Adams Bona, has observed the fight against illegal mining has become increasingly difficult due to the proliferation of firearms in the country. According to him, illegal miners and other criminal groups are heavily armed, making it almost impossible for the security agencies to clamp down on the activities effectively. Now, Dr. Bona's remarks add to the growing calls for a strong government's drive to win the war against Galamsey.
Say it's becoming difficult to fight because people have weapons. And if without the weapons, it would have been easy to fight Galamsey. Without the weapons, can you imagine just recently we had an issue of some hijacking of a vehicle, Accra-Kumasi Trunk Road, which was very worrying. And you can say for a very long time, not much has been done in the area of making sure these things, we nip them in the bud. But since I took over together with the team and government, fortunately, the president is 100% in support of what we are doing. My minister, Honorable Mutaka Mubarak, who is a son of this soil, a proud son of this soil, 100% in support of what we are doing, is giving us some resources we need to do this, to ensure that if we can fight gun violence and gun racketing in Ashanti region, fighting it in the country, nationwide will be easy. If we can fight it in Ashanti region, I tell you that we should be able to deal with it the way we expect, because the numbers are, it's gone up more than 100%.
Over what period?
From first quarter to, the first quarter, we published the second quarter not quite long. But you see, this is something that I would say this government inherited. For a very long time, not much was done to ensure that we mop up stockpiles of weapons that are in the hands of people.
The wrong people.
Yes, in the hands of wrong people. Thank you, in the hands of wrong people.
Now, the Executive Secretary of the Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons hinted at a forthcoming government announcement on decisive measures to tackle gun violence.
Not so far, future, you are going to hear a big announcement either coming from His Excellency the President or the Honorable Interior Minister himself with how we are going to deal with this. I don't want to speak ahead of them, but something significant. We haven't done that for probably, I'm not too sure.
If I say just about it, what is the announcement going to be on?
I wouldn't want to. I'll leave it.
How soon is it going to be?
I'm sure in the next week or two.
Okay.
There's going to be a significant statement made by either the President himself, His Excellency the President, or the Minister of the Interior with regards to tackling gun violence in this country. Something important is going to come.
Let's stay on illegal mining a little longer. The government is set to deploy the military to river bodies affected by illegal mining. Speaking at the 11th West and Central Africa Mining Summit, Deputy Lands and Natural Resources Minister Suleimana Yusuf said the operation will focus on flushing out illegal miners from these water bodies. He explained that the actions of the Blue Water Guards are not sustainable, as illegal miners often returned to the site after being driven away. According to him, only deploying the military or creating permanent security zones along the river bodies can provide a lasting solution.
We also try to formalize the small-scale mining industry. We are all aware of the challenges of what we call Galamsey in this country. Now we have identified 20 million tons of Galamsey. One, there are those who are on the river bodies destroying our products. And there are some who are also in our foreign reserves. And then we have some who are on the land, even though they are not legalized to do what is supposed to do or what they are doing. They are going to the government that those who are on police is a no-go area. As long as the military will push all areas around the river bodies where the government is taking place, so that the flood constantly ensure that.
Meanwhile, former Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abu-Jidepo says President Mahama's declaration of a state of emergency on illegal mining will be a clear sign of the government's or the governing NDC's commitment to tackling the menace. He argued that the pledge to declare a state of emergency was part of the party's promises to Ghanaians and urged the NDC to take full responsibility for delivering on it. Speaking on Joy FM's Super Morning Show, he noted that the current Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa's announcement that all forest reserves and water bodies will be declared national security zones mirrors a similar step he took while he was in office. Public pressure continues to mount for more radical action against Galamsey. Now, this week, the Minister, Emmanuel Amakofiwa, confirmed the government's plans to designate all forest reserves and water bodies as national security zones. He, however, fell short of saying when, if a state of emergency will be declared as demanded by anti-Galamsey campaigners.
I haven't said that it's a better alternative to state of emergency, not at all. The declaration of security zones is very much the same as the declaration of river bodies and forest reserves as red zones. When I was Minister of Lands, that's exactly what we did, to declare forest reserves and river bodies as red zones. So we will wait for the details of the security zone and what it entails. What will be the contours of this security zone declaration? What is it going to mean? I mean, for example, when we declared red zones, river bodies and forest reserves as red zones, we went as far as burning excavators which were found 200 meters or so from the banks of all rivers of Ghana and forest reserves, and therefore it will really come to what the implications will be. What is the ramification of this declaration? What is it going to entail? But the declaration of a state of emergency was a clear commitment by this government. This government committed clearly. It was a social contract. It was an electoral contract between the political party, the NDC, and for that matter, this government and the Ghanaian people, that they believed that the declaration of a state of emergency is the most effective tool at fighting illegal small-scale mining. So that's what people are calling on them to do.
President Akufo-Addo never buckled under any pressure to declare security zones. Is that not exactly what John Mahama is doing?
But President Akufo-Addo never promised to declare a state of emergency. He never committed to declare a state of emergency. He never did. When TUC threatened a strike action, UTAG actually declared a strike action and insisted that, and the Bishops' Conference insisted that we should declare a state of emergency.
Now, Jennifer also cautioned against politicizing the fight against illegal mining, stressing that both the NDC and the NPP must form a united front to combat the destructive activity threatening the country's natural resources.
I also said when we were in government, and I want to repeat it, that we will not make a headway if we politicize this matter. Of course, the NDC were huge beneficiaries of Galamsey politics in the run-up to the 2024 elections. The NPP lost considerably in 2020 and lost even more, even much more in the 2024 elections. And there's a tendency for the NPP and its collaborators to say this is payback time. But I just will advise that we should not go down that route, because it will just not help. It will not. You will not have the political will and spine to deal with this matter if your political opponents are kicking Galamsey as a football. It should be a national call, and all of us should be united in the fight against illegal small-scale mining. But having said that, it's absolutely important, Kojo, also to make the point, Blessed and Winston, that you cannot also say don't politicize it. Mm-hmm. And when your government, your party comes into office, the leadership of your party, the rank and file of your party, now say this is our turn. This is our turn to take concessions. This is our turn to jump into the fray and to mine indiscriminately. And that security people cannot arrest us. They cannot sanction us. They cannot, the route to coming to grips with illegal small-scale mining, that I've said so many times. And I think it's a three-pronged approach.
And on to energy. The Energy Committee of Parliament has begun a 3-day working tour of agencies under the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. During the visit to its facility, GRIDCo announced it has started procurement processes for 169 kV Eastern Corridor transmission projects aimed at improving power supply in the Volta and OT regions. The project is expected to cost $353 million.
It's near disaster because, as we talked about, the line right of way, you need to clear it so that when you need to do maintenance on the line, you can go there. Now, the right-of-way clearing becomes lucrative to galamseyers. And in a number of areas, our people go and see that overnight, people come and do their galamseying activities very close to our towers. Now, the towers, you see them as just steel members, but they are carrying a lot of forces and weights, and so the foundation is really calculated. In fact, they do a lot of studies on the ground to design. Every tower foundation is different depending on where it is, and I'm sure these galamseyers don't know, but as you approach close to the lands, we are coming to the point where, in fact, there are some towers that we have had to rush in to do some intermediary reinforcement. Unfortunately, there are some areas that even when our maintenance teams are home, they get short, and some of them have had to run on. And so we are trying to see and leverage and get engaged, because those areas is getting to points where GRIDCo alone cannot manage, and so we need.
Now, the team is currently in Tema, and my colleague James Aveji joins us live with details. James, bring us up to speed with what has been happening so far.
Well, that we had there is one of the biggest challenges the Grid company have been telling the Parliament Committee as one of the greatest challenges they've been facing. In fact, the director in charge of engineering has also indicated that a number of their projects have to come to a halt because of some of these challenges. Another major challenge they pointed out has been the payment of compensation to owners of properties and farms that they would have to build their towers on, which takes about 8 to 10% of their project cost. And so the committee chair, Honorable Bejra, made a special appeal to some of these galamseyers as well as the security agencies to see how the Ghana Police Service, the armed forces, can provide some special security to these GRIDCo workers on site so that they can address some of these challenges. Because according to him, if care is not taken, we are going to have a number of these GRIDCo towers coming down, which will add up to the challenges that confront power supply and transmission in the country. But the good news, of course, for the people of the Volta and Oti region is that GRIDCo said they have begun procurement for the construction of a 169 kV transmission line, which will cost the country some $353 million to improve upon power supply to those areas. The team is still on the road. They'll be visiting the PURC as well as the Energy Commission as part of today's monitoring visit.
Very well, James. Thank you so much. Well, the government is set to review the educational curricula for kindergarten to primary 6 as part of efforts to strengthen the foundation of basic learning. Education Minister Haruna Iddrisu, who made this known during the Vice President J. Nana Opoku-Agyeman's first official visit to the Education Ministry, says the move is to improve the quality of teaching and learning in the country. There's more in this report.
The Vice President's visit was to acclimatize with Ghana's educational sector and to share ideas, as she herself is a former Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana. In that interaction, Education Minister Haruna Iddrisu announced that government is reviewing the national curricula for kindergarten through primary 6 to strengthen foundational learning and improve outcomes at the basic school level. Haruna Iddrisu indicated that the reforms are designed to revolutionize teaching and learning in the country.
I'm also happy to note that we are currently reviewing education curricula for kindergarten to primary 6. And our emphasis is, one, we want to introduce electronics, robotics, coding, and AI into the very formative ages of young learners. It is our firm belief, again in your dream, that foundational learning holds the key to educational success generally. And we intend, with your support, to invest more in foundational learning. We intend to revolutionize STEM education with the acquisition of more additional STEM equipment to live your dream
that the future is about science, mathematics, and engineering education.
He also promised decisive action to curb what he called a disturbing culture of indiscipline among senior high school students.
We've noticed a worrying phenomenon, which is un-Ghanaian, of Ghanaian students having weapons on schools, whether it's a machete or it's a gun or a cutlass, not acceptable for our campus. So we are beginning to emphasize that NASIA should play a more elaborate role, and schools should conduct randomized searches in order that students don't go into campus with this. But I've assured the Director General of GS that they have your absolute support in ensuring and not compromising on any matter of discipline.
Vice President Professor Jinano Pokwajiman, on her part, revealed government is committed to improving and expanding education in the country.
Our interest is not only the numbers, it's also to ensure that we can diversify the tertiary space and theme them. And you can see that is why we did the Eastern University the way we did. And that is also part of the reason why we raised the status of the polytechnics to technical universities. It wasn't a joke, because it's about the quality of the human resource that will drive that economy. And so if you don't train them to the highest level, it means that you have decided that you are not going to go further.
For Joy News, Stephen Mensah.
We're joined on Zoom by Senior Education Advisor at Africa Education Watch, Dr. Peter Atefua. Thank you for joining us on the news this afternoon. So while I recognize that this review is in progress, what's your general view of government's decision to review the curricula? If you can hear me, kindly unmute. We'll try again and see if we can get Dr. Atefua to share his maybe opinion on government's decision to review the educational curricula for kindergarten and as well to primary 6. If I have Dr. Atefua on, we'll try and reconnect him. But well, let's bring you some other stories. You're watching News Today, and we've already been bringing you about how government has decided to review education curricula. But in other news this afternoon, I'll bring you an update on cervical cancer. Now, the Volta region has recorded 54 cases of cervical cancer between January and September 2025, with about 500 reported cases seen between 2016 and 2025. About 70% of these cases were identified when tumors had progressed to advanced stages, making survival very slim. The Ghana Health Service warns of increasing cases and therefore advises females between 9 and 14 years to take part in the upcoming nationwide HPV mass vaccination campaign scheduled between 7 and 11 October 2025. There's more in this report by Fred Kwame Asari.
Cervical cancer is caused by an infection with certain high-risk types of human papilloma virus, HPV. The virus is transmitted through any skin-to-skin contact of the genital area, vaginal, anal, or oral sex. It is the first most frequent disease diagnosed in females between 15 and 14 years, where cancerous tumors start developing around the cervix. Hectoria Awikia is the acting Volta Regional Deputy Director of Public Health of the Ghana Health Service.
So the cervix is like the entrance or the tip of the uterus. So any abnormal growth there that we detect to be cancerous, okay, at the entrance of the uterus is what we are terming cervical cancer. So we can pick it very early by screening. And if you don't screen early and you come with symptoms, then most of the time we are not able to really give you the kind of care that we need. So we are preventing primary prevention through the vaccination, secondary prevention through screening, and then early detection. And then tertiary prevention is when they have had the disease and we have to now try and prevent them from, manage it, prevent them from dying.
In light of this, the Ghana Health Service aims to introduce the HPV vaccine into routine immunization following the success of a pilot HPV vaccination campaign in 2013.
I'll take you back to the story of how government is set to review the educational curricula for kindergarten to primary 6 as part of efforts to strengthen the foundation of basic learning. Education Minister Haruna Idrisu, who made this known during the Vice President Nana Akufo-Addo's first official visit to the Education Ministry, says the move is to improve the quality of teaching and learning in the country. I'll now engage Dr. Atefa, who is Senior Advisor at Africa Education Watch. Dr. Peter Atefa, thank you for joining us this afternoon. While I recognize that government is already in the process of reviewing the curricula, I'd like to hear your general comments on the decision really to review the curricula.
Thank you very much. For curriculum, it is always reviewed for every 5 years. The last time that reviewed curriculum from the objective-based curriculum to the standard-based curriculum is 5 years now. 5 years was 2024, and therefore it is overdue that we review this curriculum. So it's in that direction.
If it wasn't for the fact that we already stated 5 years, if we didn't need a review, should we still review it? Do I still have Dr. Atefa? Unfortunately, I try hard to want to bring you that conversation on the curricular review. We'll try, if not in this bulletin, in our subsequent bulletin, to bring you his view on the curricula that the government is reviewing. But as well, in other news, I shall bring you the story of how a city known as a major commercial and agricultural hub, Techiman, is facing a growing enemy. Its own waste, clogged gutters, plastic-choked streets, and overflowing landfills threaten the public health and the city's image. But from within this challenge, a group of determined volunteers has emerged, declaring war on filth. My colleague Anna Sabit has this inspiring feature.
This is the face of a modern problem. Techiman generates tons of waste daily, a byproduct of its vibrant commerce. And for too long, the fight against plastics, organic refuse, and indiscriminate dumping has been a losing battle. The situation at times has been dire. But listen closely. That's the sound of a new front in this war. Meet the City Boys, a volunteer army whose weapon of choice is the broom and whose enemy is every bit of filth in the Techiman metropolis. From street to street, gutter to gutter, market to market, this is their battlefield. They are not paid. They are driven by a simple, powerful belief that Techiman can and must be one of the cleanest cities in the country.
Our main purpose or our vision is to provide clean and good environment for the people of Ghana. And our vision is to make Techiman East the cleanest city in Ghana. So we do it weekly, every Saturday and Sunday. And it's a volunteer group, so we do it voluntarily. And anyone can join.
Founded by Abdul Hamid, popularly known as Ice Papa, this volunteer group dedicates their weekends to tackling the city's most critical points. They believe that Techiman's economic potential, driven by agriculture and commerce, is directly linked to its environmental health.
Techiman is the food basket of Ghana, and it is found in the center of Ghana. Economically, Techiman produces a lot of food to help build Ghana. So our goal is to make sure that Techiman is clean, so that we can promote and make Techiman also one of the biggest cities in Ghana.
And that's the crux of their challenge. Their will is immense, but their resources are thin. Ice Papa's appeal is not just for hands, but help.
We need a lot of support, both financially and equipment. We need to be more equipped so that we can get the necessary tools to make sure that Techiman is clean. So anyone watching or listening to us, whether you are a citizen of Techiman or not, we need your support to make sure that Techiman will be clean and Ghana will be clean and healthy.
Their sacrificial work has not gone unnoticed by the authorities. The Metropolitan Chief Executive Ajay Mensah shares how he first heard of the name City Boys.
The first time I heard about the city boys, it was my son who is Accra schooling. He sent a video to me, and through him, I got their contact. Since that time, I've been their friends. Even I am part of them. I am always with them. In fact, we say God Almighty should bless them.
The local government has taken note and is throwing its weight behind the movement. Mayor AJ Mensah urges other groups to emulate the activities of this citizen-led initiative.
In fact, if we have 2 or 3 of youth group like this, I think the children will go places. We urge other youth groups in the town to also emulate their example.
Now, the French Navy has seized nearly 10 tons of cocaine worth $610 million off the coast of West Africa. French authorities have said 2 French naval vessels operating as part of Operation Curium intercepted the enormous cocaine haul from an unflagged fishing vessel on Monday, acting on a tip-off from Maritime Intelligence, anti-drug authorities and the British National Crime Agency. The Curium naval mission has been deployed by France in the Gulf of Guinea since 1990 to ensure security in an area where piracy is fairly common. The French Navy said that 54 tons of drugs had been intercepted in the area since the beginning of the year. France Atlantic Maritime Prefecture said seamless cooperation by national and international actors in the fight against narcotics had led to the remarkable seizure of 9.6 tons of cocaine. The Gulf of Guinea, off the western coast of Africa, has seen multiple drug busts in recent months, with the region being a key transit point in the global trafficking of narcotics, in particular cocaine from South America being shipped to Europe.
Welcome back to Business here on JoyNews Today. My name is Winston Taki, and our first business story. Goodheart Quarry and Construction Limited is breaking new ground with the launch of the first newly built 24-hour quarrying factory in the Volta Corridor, positioning itself as a strategic partner in Ghana's ambitious 24-hour economy initiative. Director Nana Osei-Yeboah says materials such as granite and quartzite are abundant and well suited for the government's 24-hour economy agenda. Here's more from a field visit by some first-year students of the University of Ghana Earth Sciences Department to the company.
The field visit introduces students to the use of local resources like granite and quartzite in construction, while showcasing Goodheart Quarry and Construction Limited's role in Ghana's infrastructure growth. Director Nana Osei-Yeboah says the collaboration with academia strengthens local expertise and supports the government's 24-hour economy vision to create jobs.
With respect to our job, it is very, very well suited for the 24-hour economy because firstly, our material is something that is not weather or timing dependent. We work with stone. So regardless of the time, regardless of the hour, regardless of visibility, rain, it doesn't really matter. And these resources are mostly located in places where jobs are badly needed. So taking the 24-hour economy towards places like that is the best thing to do, because here, for example, staffing is 50% male, 50% female. And once we go 24 hours, that means we are employing 3 times the amount of women, 3 times the amount of men. I like to mention the fact that stone building is not something that's new to us. We've always had it. And a very classical example is the Aban Palace that used to be at Manshia. It was built by Otumfuo and Nana Osei-Bonsu in the 1820s. He contracted the Dutch to build a palace. Unfortunately, this was blown up during the Sagrenti War, and I think it was the stones were used to build the British fort later on. But this is a project that now we have the expertise, we know how to cut the stone, and we can rebuild.
Senior lecturer at the Department of Earth Science at the University of Ghana, Dr. Joseph Osei-Thompson says exposing students to practical quarry operations is key to turning geology knowledge into entrepreneurship.
Our students, live and they search for jobs for years, but the rocks that we're teaching them about are resource. okay? And we want them to understand that, you know, the rocks are a resource, and we want to give them the experience, you know, exposing them to people who are working with the rocks. We want them to actually see that they can, you know, create a business out of the rocks.
Leader at the 24-Hour Economy Secretariat, Roland Azuvugu, explains that SMEs will benefit from tax incentives, industrial parks, and funding support, making them central to Ghana's round-the-clock economic growth.
SMEs are our flagship program because we know that they are those who create jobs for Ghanaians. Over 80% of businesses or the economy lies on SMEs, and that's why we want to cushion them. We want to formalize their staff so that they are able to create the needed jobs by bringing them the funding, make sure that the enabling environment is there for them to operate.
The collaboration highlights how industry and academia can work together to build local expertise, create jobs, and strengthen Ghana's construction and infrastructure sector under the 24-Hour Economy Framework.
Away from that, Access Bank Ghana PLC has announced the appointment of Pearl Nkrumah as its managing director effective October 1st, 2025. Her appointment has received approval from the Board of Directors and the Bank of Ghana in line with regulatory requirements. Ms. Nkrumah will be the bank's first female managing director since it started operation in Ghana. She succeeds Olumide Olatunji, who has led the bank since 2018 and now transitions into a new executive role in Nigeria within the parent company. We have more business update for you on the marketplace at 1 p.m. Up next is sports.